Hi everyone, this is Nareen's Life with MS. I am Nareen, and today, considering it is episode 2 of Travel Hangover Diaries, I did want to get past the recovery phase and start talking about some of the symptoms I experienced while I was on travel. Now, this travel was extremely long. It was going to places where I'd either been to for a very short time or I had never been before. So, there is a lot of new things that are happening and a lot of newer experiences to be had. And one thing I definitely know is that my body does experience some level of shock, pretty much going and into something new, something that I have not experienced before. And so as a result, new places invoke new reactions, or so you can say. So, I've been thinking about a lot of the different experiences I had. And I think the first one I want to talk about is something that really had not occurred to me, at least until I saw it in a different light, and that is weakness happening in my hands and wrists. So obviously I have experienced this before. It is very difficult for me to use a pen right now, and it is also very difficult to do a couple other things with my hands. Now, part of the reason for it being difficult to use my hands now is because there are certain parts of my fingers that do feel numb on contact, and as a result, holding a pen sometimes becomes very difficult, for example. The other thing I want to talk about is my hand just losing quite a bit of grip, losing a lot of the energy that it had beforehand, and as a result of that, I cannot use certain things. The thing that I can think, the event that really gets me thinking about this is when I use cutlery. And this, while I have the ability to use my cutlery at home to a relatively high rate of success, it definitely was something that I was struggling with while I was there in the United States. And when I mean struggling with, I mean, not only having difficulty in holding, a fork or a knife or a spoon up, but also having the energy to, lift the utensil or the cutlery. Even so much so that at one point in time I decided to let go of using my fingers to pretty much hold a fork or a knife or a spoon or any other kind of cutlery up with my fingers, and more use my entire fist, my entire hand, so practically holding a spoon like this and eating food. So pretty pretty childish when I think about that in retrospect. But that is the first thing I wanted to talk about, which was the weakness in my hands. And while I am looking at different ways to kind of strengthen it, one way being, of course, getting my hand pumping a little bit more, making sure that the blood circulation in this hand and of course in this other hand remains as active as possible. I'm also using stress balls, and I'm also considering buying uh, some kind of some kind of gripping tool that I can use to just strengthen my grip, so that at least there is a little more blood flow taking place, uh, which I think happens to be the biggest you know part of this problem that I've encountered. um, and now I do want to turn it over to you, and I do want to ask you three very important questions. The first one: if you have had your hands getting weaker and it becoming a little difficult for you to hold cutlery, what have been some ways that you've done it? Have you bought slightly different cutlery? Have you uh, incorporated new exercises to help your hands strengthen, or have you done anything to improve your use of cutlery? The second question I do want to ask is, when it comes to using writing instruments, right, using a pen or a pencil, and say you are, you know, um, say you are noticing that you are having a lot harder of a time writing, and this becomes sort of a two-sided, or a something that has more than the one simple um, the one simple fact of like your hand losing grip, or your hands getting weaker. But it also depends on whether your hand-eye coordination is working as well as it used to. And of course mine is a little shaky now. But what are you doing to make sure you improve that? I mean, now I have predominantly moved to typing. I do not use my hands as much, but even when I do, it is a little odd holding a pen in my hands, because in a lot of places where the pen is making contact with my finger, I'm not really feeling it. So that is one other thing, and probably the most important question, because this one this one is for a much larger group of people, because while the first two might have been certain things that might really be happening only with MS and MS patients, the third one is for a much larger group of people who have certain medical conditions, who might have certain autoimmune diseases, who might have any other reason for this impact, right? Even something as similar as something like PTSD, for example. If you do travel to a new location, does your body experience shock, which causes it to underperform compared to your daily to your daily work or your daily inputs? Please share all of your comments, please share all of your inputs and insights, because that is going to very much help I think a much larger crowd, rather than just ones who subscribe to this channel, watch my videos, because at least there will be something that we can talk about as a community. So again, just let me reiterate the three questions. Question one: if you actually are noticing your hands getting weaker and it's harder for you to use utensils or cutlery, or even tools for that matter, with your hands, what are some of the ways that you're finding to compensate for this loss in coordination or loss in energy or strength in your fingers. The second one being, if say the activity is something a little finer like writing, and you are noticing numbness, what are some ways that you are ensuring that you can still, you know, still engage in the activity or still use it, right? Or what are some exercises that you do so that you can at least ensure that even if you are experiencing numbness in your fingers, you're still able to engage in that activity. And number three, which is the most important one, if you do actually travel to um, an unknown location, an unseen location, an unfamiliar location, regardless of who you're going with, who you're traveling with, um, I as a person who at one point in time actually would love to travel, it's definitely changed quite a bit, because traveling does end up getting me a little concerned. But yes, if you do travel to an unfamiliar location, an unknown or an unvisited location, does your body go into shock? So please share your insights, share your inputs. Please answer these questions. And honestly, this is not only for people who have MS or suffer any autoimmune conditions or any other conditions for that matter. I mean, you can just give your comments based on what are some things that you experience, because this will definitely make travel hangover diaries a very powerful series, that I can definitely use forward for my own personal travel, and of course to provide tips to other people who are maybe going to travel as well, and probably do or are in a very similar boat of having certain medical conditions, having certain issues that might get exacerbated as they travel. So thank you so much. This has been Nareem's Life with MS. I am Nareen, and of course, if you have any other comments, suggestions to provide, please provide them, and I will be very happy to engage in that conversation with you. Bye.